Hey everybody, how are you? We're live. Yeah. Um if whenever you were watching this, if you were here now or if you're going to be here later, this is the first time I think I've gone live on the YouTube channel ever. So hooray for that. Um I want to just start by saying my bad about missing this on Ace Week. I really wanted to do this on Friday, but some life stuff got in the way. So here we are instead. Um, I have a bunch of thank you for all of the questions from the post that we shared. I'm super excited to answer them. I spent some time kind of going through them and coming up with kind of smart, coherent thoughts. So you get something useful here. I can't wait to dive into them. We have a number of them. And then yeah, during the time, please chat away. I may not always be watching or paying attention, but it's cool to see you guys here engage with each other too. We don't get to hang very much, either in digital or online or in person space. So, you know, get in there. Um, yeah, so I hope everyone did have a really cool Ace Week. I thought Ace Week was really fun this year. The last year of Ace Week for me was really stressful. I just felt because I wasn't really home for it. I was traveling and I just felt a little overwhelmed by the demands of making things for Ace Week. But this Ace Week was really fun. I got to do cool online stuff. I got to share really cool Ace online stuff that other people were doing. And I did a book event here in Ohio. I did a book event at Clintonville Books in Ohio, which was very cool. I did that with my friend NV Gay, who is a trans educator and writer. It was a cool time. And if you're watching this and you are interested in if you don't have my books, they have signed copies of my books. I think right now they're one of the few bookstores that have signed copies of I Am Ace or the Ace and Arrow Relationship Guide. So I told them I would be sharing that information this week. All right, so I want to get into your questions because you had some amazingly good questions that hit a whole bunch of topics, and we're just going to kind of dive in. I did not attach people's screen names to questions because I felt like since this video is going to be available to everybody for a long time, I didn't want to have anybody. If you had a question that somebody wanted to go, I just didn't want to find you. So I'm just going to go through the questions and the answers. I'm not attaching people's names to them. But if you wrote it, you know who you are. You know who you are. All right, question time. So the first question is, where do Ace folks meet in real life? The only Ace person I know is me, and I'm over it. Also, how soon after meeting Ace folks can I come out as not liking purple and being gluten-free? Now, I cannot help you with the last part. The not liking purple and being gluten-free, I cannot assist you in this endeavor or change how you live with that. Purple is my favorite color. It doesn't have to be everybody's though. Never. But I can talk about meeting Ace folks in real life. Where do you meet Ace folks in real life? That's really tough, right? I have a hard time connecting with Ace folks in real life as well. Um, we just don't have a lot of places that are designed for us to connect with each other. And I think because asexuality and aromanticism are not new experiences, but they are more relatively new communities of people wanting to connect with each other. We don't have in-person social infrastructure that other queer experiences and communities have. So it is very hard to meet other ace people. The first thing that I would recommend is searching in your area for ace meetups. Maybe that is through meetup.com or just ace meetups. Just check around for ace meetups. I have found for a number of people, when I ask people how they find their communities, this comes up a decent bit. Well, I found an ace meetup in my town. If you're in a larger city, likely there is one. I know there's one in LA, there's Chicago, there's some in New York, there's some in Washington, DC. So if you're in a large city, you're kind of more advantaged. But if you're not in a large city, just poke around for ace meetups. You never know where one might surface. The next thing that you can do, which I do recommend for people who are not like in those large cities, check out your local LGBTQ center and see what kind of social events they offer. Not ACE specific, just see what kind of social events. Do they have a monthly happy hour? Do they have a movie night, or do they have a game night that are things that you're interested in? Do they have social events that connect with your interests? Or if they do have like an ACE or Arrow specific event. Your local LGBT community center really raises the possibility that you're going to find another ACE person at one of these things. So get socially connected to your LGBTQ center. You'll be meeting more queer people, and queer people know queer people. So maybe by connection, or you may run into somebody at an activity event that you're interested, that you really dig, that use also ACE. People run into ACE folks randomly all the time around other things. So that's also a thing. Um, and I think to focus on interest groups. Focus in on connecting to groups of people, either online or in person, that meet your other interests. So if you're a big gamer, go find some gaming groups. If you like board games a lot, go find a board game group. Whatever it is that you're kind of into, knitting, uh, horror movies, books, like go find some groups to connect with other people. When you are building relationships with people across other interests, they can be great networking tools to reach out into further communities for you, and maybe like connect you with more ACE folks. You got to be a little more resourceful, I guess, when you're ACE, to try to find ACE folks in real life. But also the reality is that's really hard. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty well connected in ACE terms, and I still don't have a ton of ACE friends in life. Next question. How do I stop putting pressure on myself to maybe someday give sexual attraction a chance, or overall just stop thinking about it as if it's definitely going to change someday? Uh, to the question writer, yeah, people in the ACE and Arrow communities, ACE communities here specifically, put pressure on themselves all the time to like worry about or wonder about, what if sexual attraction is going to be a thing that happens sometimes? What if that becomes something true for me? What I would say about that, and what I say to people, what if you just opened yourself to all the possibilities? So the possibility that maybe one day you will want to experience something sexual attraction based. Maybe you will never want to do that. Both possibilities are totally possible, and you're totally cool with both of them. Opening yourself to all the possibilities, including that who you are right now will change in the future. Uh, how would that change the pressure you feel? How would that change your anxiety? How would that change your focus on, well, what if it's going to? I find that when you allow who you are right now to be truth, and all of the other possibilities to also be possible, and just be like, that's life. That's, who I am today may change. That's okay. Who I am today may never change. That's also okay. Um, it allows you to stop focusing on and to stop feeling anxiety or pressure about things that haven't happened yet, things that aren't a reality, and allow you to just kind of exist in your body as you are right now. And that's the most valuable thing you can give yourself, right? You can to just let yourself be who you are, without all that worry. Just open yourself to the possibilities. If the what if, sure, it could happen. That's fine. It's fine. It could also not happen. Also fine. Oh God, I'm wires all over the place here. Next question. How can I stop feeling guilty about being ace? I've had several partners tell me I'm selfish for not giving them sexual pleasure, for denying them a basic need. It makes me feel like I'm not enough, or and that I should lower my boundaries to understand and meet their needs. Okay, friend, I have a number of thoughts here. First, sex is not a need. Anyone who tells you that sex is a need, that is a red flag. That person is a red flag. That statement is a red flag. That idea is a red flag. Um, Society does communicate to people, particularly people who are socialized as men, that they are entitled to whatever sex they want because it's part of what it means to be human, right? We encounter that all the time. Um, every allonormativity, compulsory sexuality tells us sex is a natural part of human experience. Everybody feels the attraction, everybody wants it. So it's a need, right? Because if everybody is experiencing that and wants that, that must be like a basic need. But we know that is not the case. Sex is never a need. Sex is a want. It's something people want, but it is not life ending if sex does not happen. Um, Particularly when men are saying it's like sex is a need, that is like that's patriarchal entitlement that's happening there. That's some socially constructed BS that we don't want to engage with. um Sex is not a need. Don't ever fall for that. Don't ever fall for that. um the second idea is around this like question of that you should lower your boundaries to meet their needs. Relationships are successful when the people in them meet somewhere in the middle of their needs and wants to create a space where both people feel that they are being honored. That's what compromise really is. Compromise is working from your positions towards something in between them that honors both of you. So it's not, I need to give up things that are necessary and important to me so that I meet you over here. That is not them giving up all the things that they want and care about so that they can meet you all the way over here. It's about finding that place in the middle where you both can feel honored. It ultimately means that yeah, both of you may be kind of giving things up or are moving the lines a little bit, but it's never all in one direction, and it's never you giving up things that are important to how you understand and live in yourself as a human being, right? So anyone who demands or is only centering what they want and what they feel comfortable with is not being a good partner. That's not being a good partner. A good partner in this particular situation, a good partner would not say, you need to meet my needs because sex is a need. A good partner would say, sex is something that I really value. Sex is something that I get pleasure and I get positive things from. I understand that that's complicated here in this relationship. Can we talk about what might be some places that we could meet in the middle? That is good compromise. That is respectful of what they want and what you want and meeting someplace in the middle. You should not feel like you have to do all the moving and all the giving up and all the changing for the other person just to get what they want. Finally, and this is about you feeling not enough. Why is a person's bad relationship skill set something that says something true about you and your aceness? Do not let other people demanding things they shouldn't demand or saying things that just aren't true change the way you think about yourself and your aspec identity. You should think of this person as being wrong for you or this person having a bad relationship skill set, not that you are somehow not enough or you are somehow wrong. You're not wrong to be ace and ask for what you want and need. You're not. They are being wrong for not being a good, compromising, collaborative partner. Yeah. Here's another one. Another question. I'm not an ace who is sexually repulsed, but I hate it when people look at me with bedroom eyes. It makes me feel uncomfortable about my body, and I often wear baggy clothes to try and hide it. I know I can't stop people from looking at me like that, but do you have any advice on how to cope with it? I really appreciate this question. This is a question about unavoidable discomfort. So some things about me that I don't normally kind of share in the world. I Don't know like exactly what kind of neurodivergent I am, but I am some kind of neurodivergent. And I experience a decent number of kind of sensory issues when I am out in the world. I have sensitivity to sound and sensitivity to touch and other sorts of things. So the experience of being in the world around unavoidable discomfort is not unfamiliar to me. We don't share the same kind of unavoidable discomfort, but this is my unavoidable. I'm talking about my unavoidable discomforts and how I handle it. The first thing that I do is I think within myself, well, what is the baseline level of discomfort that is manageable and that I can live with all the time? So I kind of know this is about how loud a place can be before it's too much for me. This is about how crowded a place can be before it's too much for me. So I can, like I know what I can manage. And so when that discomfort level shows up, because it always does, um, I I just know, okay, this discomfort that is currently happening is within my baseline. I know I can manage this. So it's okay. I I don't like it, but I can manage it. The second thing is within relationships with people or in situations with people that you're invested, I also have a plan for how to discuss change with those people, right? So let's say that like someone who is kind of giving you those bedroom eyes that make you feel uncomfortable, and you like this person, they're your friend, you're invested in that connection. Have a plan for how you talk about it. Hey, I know you're not meaning to make me uncomfortable, and I just want to talk about something that kind of like skeeves me out a little bit. It's this. Can we do something else instead? Can we find some other way to deal with this moment? Have a plan. Because if you can feel in control of the conversation about how to change it, you'll be more likely to have it. And then I just have people and experiences that I go to that counteract the discomfort when I can't have those conversations. So so this happens to me when I go to sporting events with my partner. One of my partners, we go to football games, we go to hockey games, and sometimes those games are like push me past my manageable limit. Um, I have things that I do after that are my go-to things to kind of reduce my discomfort. There are people that there are people I can text and be like, "Oh my god, the game was so loud. My brain was wanting to pop out of my head." That's helpful. Having people that you can connect with who will support you, who will nurture you, having activities that bring you down from that discomfort, that can be really helpful. I hope that is useful. And like, yeah, it is kind of weird, isn't it? The next question. My question would be the following: what questions or topics do you think we should actively be focusing on as a community, as opposed to the cycle of same old questions one finds oneself dealing with from aloes? I loved this question. To this particular question asker, love it. I love this question. And in speaking events, I get asked this question, versions of this question, and this is what I always say. I would love to see more conversation and more work focused on how we build in-person community for more Ace and Arrow people. And I don't just mean in-person community as in hanging out situations. I mean in-person community. I want to be able to go to my LGBTQ center and know that there's going to be like maybe the ACE staff person, or I know that my LGBTQ center has a whole list of ACE activities that are not just like hanging out. Maybe they're like volunteer groups or whatever. This is an idea that I love and I've wanted to do. Why can't ace people in a community get together and go volunteer someplace together and do like positive things for the community? They're hanging out with ace folks but also doing good things. Building in-person community where we have a social infrastructure that isn't just online, that I think is really important, because I think that in-person community will lead to stronger political advocacy for ace and arrow goals. The more that we have an in-person social infrastructure, the more we will be able to um, organize, the more we will be able to collaborate on political goals. And I think that's really important. The other thing that I would love to see is a more tangible, fleshed out political agenda for Ace and Arrow folks that includes economic issues. So I would love for us to find spaces to get past the validity question about being ace and arrow. Granted, my work is all about the 101 and helping people get into this and feel good about it and navigate relationship stuff. But I also think it's really important that we talk about, all right, so what are the economic consequences in a world that is getting increasingly expensive for people who are not going to enter into partnered relationships? Where do those people get social support? When you look around at other queer communities, you see there is a lot of social support. There's a lot of mutual aid. There is a lot of like connected things to address economic issues. We also like, I think, political issues. How do we politically recognize the kinds of relationships and human networks that ace and arrow people uh, build? Sometimes those deserve the same kind of space and recognition, right? Um, I think we certainly need to have more conversations about conversion therapy for ace and arrow people and how ace and arrow people interact with healthcare, and make that more of an important issue. Those kind of things. I'd like to see more tangible discussions about that move beyond just the validity of being ace and arrow. Um, Let me check. Let's take a moment and check the chat. Oh yeah, thank you for the answer. Yeah, happy to answer your question. Of course, of course. Hey Norway, hey Norway. Uh, you're very far away. I hope you're having a lovely, lovely time in Norway. Like glasses frame. Thank you. Something funny about the glasses frame. Online, these look purple, and ever since I've gotten them, people think I have purple glasses, but they're not. They're blue. They're really blue. Like, I get maybe that's a secret reveal. I'm busted, but they're really blue. They're not purple. But yes, these are my favorite. These are my favorite frames. If the company that makes them ever stops making them, I'm in big trouble. Oh, hey, that's awesome. The dissertation about writing a dissertation about asexuality in art. That's amazing. Woo! Love it. Next question. Oh, this is a big one. How do you actually navigate sexual intimacy when you want none at all or next to none without opening the relationship or placing shame, resentment on either party? How do you actually negotiate if this is a deal breaker or not? Okay. Relationship stuff, I got you. Always remember that your key responsibility in a relationship of any kind, not just romantic, any kind, is to clearly and honestly articulate your boundaries, your needs, and your wants with the other person or persons. That's your key responsibility. And if you always start there, that my job in this relationship is to communicate honestly and clearly boundaries, needs, wants. That's the start of all of that negotiation. It's the start, it's the foundation, it's the core of it. So the way that you navigate that is you state your boundaries, needs, and wants in a relationship. The partner does the same thing. These are my boundaries, needs, and wants. And from there, you determine if it is possible for you to get those things met and have those boundaries respected together. It doesn't mean that you suck if you can't. It doesn't mean that they suck if you can't. It just means that you have clearly stated what you need, they've clearly stated what they need, and those two things don't work out. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you can say what you want and they can say what they want, and you can figure out something that works for everybody that doesn't make you do something you don't want to do. That's great. That's a successful relationship. Super. But if that doesn't happen, that doesn't mean you fail. Doesn't mean you fail. You have to remember too that you can't control how someone feels about that. You can't control what someone is going to feel about what you need. So if you say to a potential partner, "Listen, I like you, and I like to make this relationship grow, um, but I am not interested in sex being a part of this relationship. I am also not comfortable with an open relationship. I know that is challenging for some people and may not be right for you, but that's what's right for me. I need to do what's right for me. If they have a weird, funky feeling about it, that's their business. That is their weird, funky feeling. That doesn't say anything about you or what your needs are. You need what you need. They need what they need. That's it. Like, it doesn't say anything true about you if they have a weird feeling about it. If no or little sex in a monogamous relationship is the relationship you're seeking, then you have to ask for that and let other people's feelings and choices be their feelings and choices, and accept that the choices you make for yourself also have consequences for you, and you work at being okay with them, right? So we also have to accept that when we say, um, this is the kind of relationship I want, if it's challenging in ways that a lot, like some this, I want to make sure that I'm not saying this in a way that sounds like we're trouble or a problem. Ace and arrow relationships can have expectations in them that are going to feel challenging for a larger number of people than if you were aloe, right? Like, that's a fair thing to say. It's important that we also understand that and learn how to make it okay in ourselves that, yeah, a lot of aloe people are gonna have some trouble with this. That's just the reality, right? I'm not making this is not a direct link, but I'm saying it's kind of similar for aloe folks who have kinks that are more generally misunderstood by people, right? Like, this is just who they are, and you sort of have to, like, create a space where you are understanding. Yeah, people may not easily embrace this because it is less understood, because it is less visible, right? Right. Um, as long as you can do that, just be honest. Just be honest and ask for what you want. If someone can't do that, they are not right for you. And it's okay to think about it that way. Next question. Eventually, I would like to have a life partner. My last long term relationship ended in part because I didn't have much interest in having sex and don't experience much physical attraction. How does an ace person go about finding a life partner when it seems like most people need sex to be a part of their relationship? Everything from the previous question applies here too. All the same. I want to add an important part here, um, is for us to keep in our minds. You, as an aspec person, cannot go into new relationships assuming you already know the ending. And this is important for those of us who do engage in building relationships with allo people, right? I have encountered so many aspec people who do try to date or try to find relationships of whatever kind they want with allo folks, and they're saying, I do date. I mean, I try to go out with allo folks, but I know no one is ever going to accept me. I know allo people will never accept what I want. They're already they've already determined what the ending will be. They've already determined what someone will want without even asking them. Don't do that. Don't go into new relationships deciding what another person thinks or feels. Um, you there's nothing about being ace or arrow that makes the basics of finding the right relationship any different from allo folks. So like in like a newsflash, allo folks fail in relationships all the time. All the time, right? Like, relationships end all the time. People allo folks are constantly failing at relationships. Just because finding the right partner for you is hard, right? Like, finding a relationship that does all the things you need it to do, and finding someone who is compatible and that you like and enjoy and you can build something that's supportive. Like, all that's really hard. A lot of times that fails. Um, just know what you want, be willing to ask for it, and see if you can connect with a compatible person who can meet those wants and needs, and then work with them to build that relationship. That's it. Um, but do that with an open mind. Don't look at every ace person, or don't look at every allo person and think you know how they're going to feel about what you want. Don't look at every allo person and know what they're going to think about your identity or your desire, your needs, your wants, your boundaries. Don't assume. Ask. They'll tell you. Next question. I'm interested in what initiating a platonic partnership versus a more casual platonic relationship with less commitment to one another might look like. I'm more specifically asking about when one party is allo and one is ace or aspec. Okay. What does it look like? It looks like every other kind of relationship. Every other kind of relationship, right? Um, it is important for us as aspec people to remember that just because we may want different things, it doesn't mean that our relationships work in a fundamentally different way. Our relationships work the same way as any good relationship, because a good relationship is about respect, it is about trust, it's about communication, it's about compromise, it is about knowing what you want, it is about listening to what your partner, your relationship partner wants. It's all the same thing. So if you want to build like a queer platonic or a more like structured platonic relationship that is with some commitment with someone, then you just have to have the conversation with them about what it is that you want. You know, it's about saying, yes, hey, I dig you. I'm feeling this. This is a kind of relationship that is interesting to me. I'm feeling like that could be a kind of relationship that's possible with you. Let Are you open to talking about those possibilities? Is that something you'd be open to? Just have that conversation. But treat the relationships you want in the same way that you would treat any other kind of relationship. Use the good relationship skills, um, communication, compromise, consent, recognition, trust, respect, all the thing, care, all the things. Um, not to be a pitchy person, but the Ace and Arrow relationship guide covers all of those good relationship skills in detail. The whole first part of the book, the Ace and Arrow relationship guide, is is all about that. It is all about those relationship skills and how to use them as an Ace and Arrow person. Um, it's a good book. Okay. Next question. I am 36, genderqueer, autistic, and ace. Your video about all the varying types of attraction was super helpful. I've noticed lately that something I say to myself when I'm feeling down is that I am immature, and that is why I don't think about or understand sex. Have you done a video yet addressing this type of feeling? I have talked about this in my short form stuff, not necessarily here on YouTube, but let's talk about it. Immature. Um, that is an echo of a pathologizing idea about aceness that is very pervasive in culture, um, and in the norms that surround sex and relationships. And what that blah 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 means is that society and societal norms constructs asexuality as something that is a brokenness. It pathologizes it. It's something that needs to get fixed. It is an illness. It is a brokenness. It is a being behind. Is whatever it is, right? And this idea, because and why does that happen? That pathologizing happens because societal norms want to create conditions under which asexuality as a valid thing is non-existent, right? They want societal norms around sex and relationships want to explain asexuality away so that asexuality is not a thing you can be. It's always something else. Does this feel familiar to you? Asexuality is always your hormones are weird. You're scared of sex. You just need to date more and eventually you'll find the right person. You are just broken somehow. You emotionally are screwed up or whatever. And one of those pathologizing ideas is that you're just immature. Like when you grow up, you are going to feel sexual attraction. When you grow up, you are going to want sex. It is a way that we can render asexuality invisible by explaining it away in some other sense. So that is just a product of allonormativity and compulsory sexuality. What's important is that we understand that if we can recognize those ideas in the world, when we hear something, we can, instead of going, oh, you know what, maybe I am just immature, or maybe I am broken, maybe I am just scared of sex. We need to instead hear those messages and go, nope, nope, that is allonormativity, that is compulsory sexuality, that is BS, that is not true. um and trust our own understanding of our own experience. I hope that is helpful. But you are not immature. You are not immature. All right. Let's do a little. Yeah. Okay. Go to the chat for a second. Y'all are. This is fun actually. Lives are fun. Maybe I should do them more. Let me just see if I can really quickly. Blah, 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 no, pushing. Oh gosh, yeah, pushing family. I mean, families are really really tough, right? Families are super tough. I'm sorry that you're going through that. That is that's very challenging. How can folks navigate fear? So just like really quick answer to the question in the chat about navigating fear around sex. Um in general, kind of with all fears, it's something that I deal with myself. Having like I am sex favorable, but I still have like after 20 years of thinking of myself as broken. I have a lot of hangups, right? A lot of hangups around physical intimacy. um Working with a qualified therapist is very helpful. Working with someone who is really good at talking about intimacy and talking about how to navigate anxiety around intimacy is super super helpful. So if intimacy is something that you enjoy but want to like have less anxiety about, if it's accessible to you, working with a sex therapist is a very helpful thing. It is something that has like certainly helped me, working with a professional who really thinks about this in a very serious way. I also think it's good to try to understand why you are afraid of that thing. Like I think sometimes, I know I experience this a lot. I just get scared and I don't question I don't question it. I'm just like, no, no, I'm scared. So stop the thing that's scaring me. Or I'm not going to go do the thing that's scaring me. Fear is something that I don't really question. But if we do question it and try to get to the bottom of it, sometimes if you can ask yourself questions down to why you are feeling afraid, it can be very helpful. Um, and I think Fluffy Platypus is about journaling. That actually is a helpful thing. It helps me get things out of my brain. It's helpful. Okay. All right. Back to the questions. I just found your channel. Hey, welcome. And I have been wondering why my attitude towards sex has been fluctuating so much ever since I can remember. It goes from me being repulsed to being indifferent or neutral to being positive about it. And I'm not talking in the span of a month or even a few days. I'm talking within mere minutes. It can change drastically. And I'm just losing my mind over it. I don't know why it happens so fast and so often. Okay. So I do not prescribe labels for people, but I offer a suggestion. Um, the way you describe your experience is sometimes how ace flux people describe their experience. I know people who identify as ace flux who do cycle around experiences very quickly. Um, some for sometimes it's longer. I know some ace flux folks who have like periods and phases, but I also know someone who finds that their experience of sexual attraction very challenging to even predict. Like it's just all over the place for them. So potentially, instead of losing your mind over it, um, maybe investigate, look around at ace flux folks and how ace flux people talk about their experience. Perhaps that framework might help you think about it differently. And perhaps finding maybe other Ace Flux folks might help you find good strategies that they use. But that might just be a helpful rabbit hole to go down is Ace Flux. It's just that what you describe reminds me of how Ace Flux folks I know describe their experiences. Next question. What's a concise response to the hopefully well meaning who ask, so no romance in your life yet? I don't want to tell my life story and don't want to sound defensive. Ideally, a reply would dispel conjecture that there's something broken and that I'm perfectly okay with things how they are. Okay. Um, I understand that we feel the need to explain and defend ourselves to the death, right? When someone kind of pushes against that thing. You don't have to do that. You don't owe people your whole story. What you can say is just the truth. You could say this. Um, oh, no romance yet. That is not one of my priorities right now, but I'd be happy to talk about the things I am excited about right now. That does two things. It's respectful, right? You are answering their question. No romance? No, it's not a priority for me. That is a respectful answer to that question. But what it also does is it turns the conversation to you getting to talk about your life the way you want to talk about it. Not a priority for me, but I do have these other priorities that I would be very excited to talk about. Do you want to talk about those? That is a good deflection that doesn't require you to spill your guts. It doesn't require you to do a PowerPoint and explaining your experience to someone who doesn't know it or understand it. And it's not disrespectful. You don't have to be in teacher explain mode. You can just redirect the conversation. And if they push, if they push, then you can say, it's just not something I want to talk about. And I would feel respected if you don't push. Simple as that. I hope that's helpful. That's what I do anyway. I don't want to talk about my life with people. I don't know, as I do that on the internet all the time. Okay, next question. How can I differentiate between being ace and just being uncomfortable with or afraid of physical touch, or rather the emotional intimacy that comes with physical closeness? AKA, can problems with emotional intimacy translate to problems with physical intimacy and thus problems with sexual desire that might not have something to do with being ace? Okay. Broad answer, the need to find a cause or some alternate explanation, the need to make sure that it's not something else, is the pathologizing of aceness in action. It's internalized pathologizing of aceness. When we as aspec people, constantly search for some other answer to why we are the way we are, instead of just accepting, oh, you know what? I'm ace, or oh, you know what? I'm arrow. We are we're practicing the pathologizing of aceness in action. Because one, why can't it be both? Why can't you be ace and also uncomfortable with physical touch? That's also that's a valid way to be ace. So being uncomfortable with physical touch doesn't mean you're not ace. Um, Being uncomfortable with physical touch doesn't mean you're not ace and then have to fix that other thing so that you can be right, right? Also, we have to really, why do you have to provide exhaustive proof that it's not something else for you to believe what you're experiencing? And I'm not being critical of the question asker at all, but just like it's a good question to ask. Why do I need to exhaust all the possibilities? Right? Um, I think a number of aspec folks feel like they have to answer all the questions. They have to definitively prove it is not something else before they can be ace or they can be arrow. But you don't have to do that. Like, if you're living an experience and you find asexuality and that resonates with you and you feel good about it and it feels like it describes you, you could just be that. You don't have to prove it to anybody. You don't have to prove it to yourself. You can just be what you understand yourself to be. And ultimately, why can't you just be the authority of your own experience and call it what you want to call it? Um, the world demands us all the time to explain ourselves because it doesn't want to believe that aceness is real and or arrowness is real. We have the way that we fight that, the way we push back against that is to claim authority over our own experience and say, you know what? I don't owe you an explanation. I am what I say I am because I understand my experience better than anybody. I'm living in my body. I'm living in my brain. And this is I've thought about it because we think about it a lot. I've thought about it. And this is the answer I've come to. And I don't need, and I'm good with it. I don't need to exhaust all the other possibilities and prove it to you or to myself. I'm not playing that game. And you shouldn't play that game either. Next one. What are your thoughts, advice on navigating the relationship between aspec identity, neurodivergence, and trauma? And also, sidebar, how would you work with a good therapist when you feel they're biased or not being affirming of your identity in a way that maintains the relationship and helps them improve? Excuse me. This is a great question. Um, how, first of all, my thoughts on navigating the relationship between those intersecting things. I think it is very valuable for us to first try to understand each of those things individually, or at least the things that are unique to each experience and what your needs around those unique spots are. So, in this example, there's aspec identity, there's neurodivergence, and there's trauma, right? So, be clear about like what's uniquely aspec in your experience that your needs are kind of circling around, or the challenges that are unique to that. What are the unique things about neurodivergence that make up your experience? What are the unique features of the trauma part of your experience? Understand what makes those three things separate, and then think about what they look like at the intersections. Because I think it's overwhelming to try to understand all of our intersections simultaneously, right? Like it's hard. We start to get to, well, what is this? What this thing is bothering me? What's causing that? Think about those experiences separately as best you can, because they don't really exist separately, but think about them separately. And then you can start to think about them all together. Because once you kind of understand them independently, it is easier to look at their intersections and go, oh, yeah, so at this intersection, this part of this is brushing up against this in an uncomfortable way. So maybe like that's going to be where I'm going to locate my work around this. Um, in terms of how to talk to a therapist who is otherwise good but kind of sucks on one point. um, I can't tell you how many times that has been the truth of my therapy experience. Um, bring up that their ideas around this thing is creating a pocket of mistrust or a lack of safety for you. And you want to talk about it because you value the overall relationship. Remember, therapists are just people. They're not the boss of you. They're not controlling you in any kind of way. This relationship is for you. You are paying for this time and support. So get what you need out of it. So if they're like consistently, like say they're great on aspec stuff, but maybe like you're poly and they're consistently bad about polyamory, it's okay for you to say, hey, I want to talk about something that's kind of bugging me. There's some ideas that have been brought up here around polyamory that I find challenging and I find less supportive, and it's making me feel less safe in this relationship. I would like to work through it because I value our overall relationship. Ask to discuss it. Also, offer resources. Like therapists are just people and they can learn stuff too. I've offered people that I liked as a therapist. I had a therapist for a while who was generally very good about anxiety stuff, but was not so smart on the ACE stuff. So I actually like talked to him about it and gave him some resources to learn more about ACEness so that he could be better around those for me. You can have that kind of relationship with your therapist. Okay. There are 2 questions left. This is actually about how long I got. Let me I'll go to the chat a little. I love that, some of you are having conversations and supporting each other. I think that's lovely. It's one of my favorite things about the Ace Dad, social media space. Um, w m the way that people are generous about helping each other in it. I think that's just really lovely, and, value that a ton in all of you. Good. Yeah. Good. Yay, friends. Friends helping friends. I love it. Um, oh, DJ H47 makes a really good point. They don't necessarily have to be correlated. Yeah, I think part of too, I'll share something personal to sort of, talk about that too. Um, for a very long time, uh, so I've been out as ace for about 10 years now. I'm coming up on 10 years. And in the beginning, I understood a lot of the things that I had around intimacy, physical intimacy. I connected them to asexuality because that just felt like the logical thing, right? It wasn't until I better understood the undefined neurodivergence in my brain that I was able to kind of parse those out and be like, "Oh, actually, more of the it's not really about that." It's not I experience those things in similar spaces, but the stuff that I have around bodies and touch is really part of some other experience more completely than it is about this. So yeah, they don't. You don't have to. You don't always have to find how a thing is experienced by all the stuff. It's not always like a complete intersection. It doesn't have to be correlated. I agree, and yeah. Um, okay, there are 2 questions left, and these are kind of big ones. I wish you could see my page because I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot in response to these, but I feel like they're kind of good places to kind of wrap up. I want to start with this one. Hey, my question is, at what age can someone know their sexuality, or doesn't age matter? I've addressed this a number of times across platforms. Happy to answer this question again, and I'm glad to because it's important. You know better than anyone else what is happening in your body and your mind and your heart. And it doesn't matter how old you are, that remains true. No other person knows better than you what's happening in you, period. Now, important context, depending on where you are in your life, you may not have all the knowledge to understand it. Uh, I lived that. I thought I was just a bad gay because I didn't have access to information about asexuality, right? So my misunderstanding of myself was mostly colored by the fact that I just didn't have all the possible information. The same can be true when you're younger, right? If you are 18, you're not going to have all the information or all the life experience that you have when you're 44 or 54, right? But nobody knows what's going on in you better than you. And you don't suddenly gain some wisdom when you reach 18 or when another person considers you to be an adult. You can know what's happening in you, and you can know whether there's language or ideas that help you understand that experience and whether that makes you feel good or not. Does that make sense? You can be young and know these are things that I'm feeling. Here's some language that sounds like this. And when I think about that language attached to myself, that makes me feel more whole, that makes me feel more complete, that makes me feel more myself. You don't have to be an adult to know that. What I think is the most important for young people, yes, you should feel encouraged, you should feel empowered to name your experience, but keep in mind that the way you understand yourself will change over time. As you grow, as you change, as you learn, you're going to maybe look at your life experience and go, oh man, when I was 16, I got this really wrong. I misread misread the room, friends. It's actually this. That's okay. Being good with that. Know yourself the way you want to know yourself, no matter how old you are, and keep yourself open to that evolving or changing as you grow and learn more. The kicker is, even when you are 44, 54, 64, 74, that process still remains true. You can always know who you are at 64, and then at 65 learn something that completely changes that. Living proof. But yeah, you can know who you are when you're 16. You can know who you are at 14. In the moment, just be open to that understanding being flexible and changing, because it probably will. Like, everyone's understanding of themselves changes over time. Last question. What, if any, tips do you have for heteroromantic aces who want to feel part of the community but don't feel ace or queer enough? I want to frame this final question as well. I am directing this answer toward this specific experience is being asked about. This advice is good for everyone, all of you. This is a good advice for everyone, and hold on to this. One of the big gifts that you can give yourself, question asker and everyone else, is also one of the core actions queer people of all stripes should take. And that is to stop waiting for permission and take up queer space that belongs to you. Stop waiting for permission to be queer. Stop waiting for permission to be ace. Stop waiting for permission to take up queer space. You want to celebrate, you want to be a heteroromantic ace and go to Pride? Go to Pride. You want to call yourself queer? Call yourself queer. You want to go to that queer activity night at the LGBT center? Go to that activity event, do the activities, take up that space. You don't need anyone's permission to live what you know is true about yourself. You don't need anyone's permission. But what if somebody says, I don't belong there? What if somebody says, I don't? What if, as for the heteroromantic aces, what if somebody says, well, what? You're a heteroromantic ace? Like, you're in a straight relationship. You're not queer. What if somebody says that? Okay, they're wrong. Don't listen to them. They're just wrong. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to leave. You don't have to give up space that belongs to you. They're just wrong. Be like, hey, you know what? You're wrong. I'm staying. What if somebody says that you're not really queer and you shouldn't be here? They're wrong. You don't have to listen to them. What if someone says, you coming in here, heteroromantic ace, you're invading Pride? They're wrong. And you don't have to listen to them. What other people think about the way you inhabit queerness is none of your business. Don't make it your business. People will always look at, like in the world, a thing that queer people have to face all the time is people of all stripes. People who are not queer, people who are queer, are going to have opinions about the way you as a queer person live your queer life. You cannot bother yourself with those thoughts. It doesn't matter what they think. You know who you are. You know where you belong. So be who you are where you belong. Simple as that. You are ace. You are queer enough. You are ace enough because you are queer and ace. That's enough. The specifics of how you express it, the specifics of who you're dating, the specifics of it doesn't matter. If you're ace, you're queer, that's enough. This is a really important lesson, I think, right now, because when so much of the world is pushing queer people and queerness out of public life, we have to make sure that we are not participating in that and helping and cooperating with that. If we wait around for other people to allow us to live our queer lives, we will never get to be. We will never get to live. Always remember, you did the work to understand who you are. That's the price of admission to any queer space you want to be in. So be. Just be. Every day now, I just feel like the world wants us to be less visible. The world wants us to be less present. The world wants us to stop existing. And that is more true and more present and more violent for other queer experiences, but it's still true for all of us. They just want us to not be. The most revolutionary thing you can do right now is just be. Go be. Go be. Go be. Go and be. Be anywhere. Be in queer space, be in allo space, be in straight space. Just go be. Go be your fabulous queer self. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, I'll save that one for last because I feel like that is like the super important one. We deserve the space we have because simply it's ours and no one should take it away from you. Yeah, this was really fun. Those are then my questions. So I will kind of like be wrapping up now. It took I thought it would be like an hour, and that is exactly how long. Yeah. Love my room. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so I'll show you more of the fun things in my space. Yeah, CCC. I have like fun Halloween stuff everywhere. A fun little thing. Oh no, don't do that. Cancel. So you see this boy, I made that. That's a print I made. My husband is a printmaker, and we had like a fun day where we were just exploring with prints. I made that print. Cool, right? Yeah. So I am enormously grateful for you hanging out with me today and this afternoon. Um, I'm also enormously grateful for you just being here on the channel and being supportive. And if I see you in other places too, if you're also in other parts of Ace Dad Advice, I'm glad you're there too. At the end of every Ace Dad Advice YouTube video, I say, I'm glad you're here. And that's not just a thing I say, it's a thing I absolutely mean. Your presence here is enormously important for me, and it's important for the world. The fact that you are here matters a ton to me, to the story of being A-Spec, and to the future of being A-Spec. So that's it for me. Thanks for hanging out. This was fun. Should I do this again? We could do this again. Maybe we can do this again sometime. I really appreciate all of you. I am so happy that we get to hang out. And as always, friends, I'm glad you're here. All right. Bye, friends. Have a good one.